folks, in this video I just want to do a little tutorial on doing Smarty to get you started on that part of assignment number 1. So, if you're comfortable with Smarty, you can skip this video, but if you want a little tutorial or a little refresh, then I suggest you watch this video. So, as I said in class, Smarty is a template engine, and what that means is it allows us to separate our PHP and our HTML. The idea being that we don't want to have HTML or presentation mixed up with our logic or our PHP, and vice versa. We don't want PHP in our presentation, so we want to separate them. So I've installed the starter project for assignment number 1, and I've named it forums. I've set up the database so everything is prepared to go. Just to show you, I'll run this project, and you'll see that we can create an account, or we can log in, and so forth. So, the idea behind question 2 of the assignment is to look for places where you can add Smarty to the project. Those places are anywhere that the PHP produces HTML directly. So, for this little demo, I'm going to start with createaccount.php. So, the first thing I want you to notice is if we go down here to line 83, you'll see that this is where we decide whether or not we should output a success or an error. But notice, when I output the success, I leave PHP and I go into HTML. So, we have PHP all the way down, and then all of a sudden, we're back into HTML. And then we continue on with PHP. If we ever needed to change the style of our page or the content of our page, we would have to dig through all of this HTML code to find this little bit, all of this PHP code to find this little bit of HTML. So it's very difficult when we have HTML and PHP mixed together. Smarty, like I said, is a tool that allows us to separate that. Now, you'll also notice in this branch, in the else, I do an echo. An echo means we're sending stuff directly to the browser, and again, we don't want to do that. So, leaving PHP or doing an echo is very similar, and it's something we want to avoid. I also want you to take a look up here. You'll notice that the error message has a whole bunch of HTML in it. So again, if I wanted to change the style of this headline, or if I wanted to modify this BR tag, I would have to dig and dig and dig through the code. So, let's go and take a look at the Smarty directory. I've set this up for you. You can download it from the project, and if you want, you can go to the Smarty site. There's lots of information. There's 2 key directories here, templates and templates_C. You'll notice in templates, I already have a few templates because in this project, there's already some Smarty being used. Your job is to add Smarty where it's not needed. So right now there's an error page, which is nice and clean. It's a little page to tell the user about errors. Notice here there's something a little weird. It looks like a PHP variable, but it's in curly braces. That's called a Smarty tag. And it allows us to fill in this tag with a value. Kind of like a mail merge in Microsoft Word. So, I already have a template to handle errors, which has one placeholder. But if you notice, this success template is for the login. So that one is not really appropriate for what we're doing because we're working on the create. So The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to right click on templates, go to HTML file, and I'll create a new page and I'll just call it Create Success. So this is a little page that we're going to use to display a success message when we successfully create an account. So I'll start by putting in the title, account created. And I like to put in a headline just so it's nice for the users. So H1, account created. H1. Now, I'm going to go back to our PHP code, and if we go down here, I'm just going to take this line out. I'm going to cut it, and the rest of these lines I'm just going to erase. Now, I'm going to go back to our success template, doing our create success, and in a p tag, I'm going to add that little chunk of PHP. So, we're going to put a close tag there. Okay, so this is now only HTML. It's nice and clean. In this particular case, I didn't need a placeholder because there's no dynamic text. But it's still nice to have a template because it keeps this page nice and clean. If I wanted to add CSS or modify the content or change the language, I wouldn't think about PHP. I would just think about HTML. So we now have two templates that we can use. We have the create success and we have the error.html. So let's go and do some work in PHP. In order to use Smarty, the first thing we have to do is we have to require the Smarty class. Now, as I said a few moments ago, I've set up the Smarty project for you, and it's not very hard to do that. Like I said, you can check out the Smarty website. I'll also make a video on how to install Smarty. So, the thing that we're going to install is in the Smarty folder. Okay, and then it's in a folder called libs. So Smarty, libs, smarty.class.php. Now, you'll see that file is right here. So, I've now enabled this file, create account, to use Smarty. Again, because it's already installed. So, let's go here. I'm going to just add some extra space. No matter if we have success or failure, success in this branch or error in this branch, we need to use Smarty. So outside of the if, I'm going to create a Smarty object. I'm just going to call it my Smarty, and I just chose that name at random. And I'm going to have it equal a new Smarty. So I've instantiated the Smarty object. Now, that object is a Smarty object. We have to tell it where the templates directory is and the template C directory is. So those are methods built into the Smarty object. So let's go and run those methods. The first one is called set template dir. Now, where is the template dir? Well, it's in the Smarty directory, and it's simply called templates. Smarty has an internal mechanism for speeding things up, so it caches or compiles its templates. So you have to tell it where this template _C directory is. So I'm just going to copy this line. I'm going to put an _C here. I'm going to say set compiled here. Notice or note that you never have to put anything in this directory. It's something that Smarty handles on its own. So you can just leave that closed, but Smarty needs to know where it is. I've made a new Smarty object. I've told it where the templates are and where the compiled templates are, so now it's time to actually spit out a template. So, in the case of success, we're going to say my Smarty arrow display. And I'm going to display what? I'm going to display create success.html. So, there we go. We have that one set up. Now, in order to print out the error message, I have to do a few things. First of all, we don't need all of this ugly HTML in here, so I'm going to just start the error message off at blank. That way, all the HTML, the headline, the breaks is taken out because that's already in the error template. Right? It's already all here. The only thing we have to do is tell Smarty what to put in place of this placeholder. Alright, so we're going to go back here. So in this case, before I can do the display, I have to do something called an assign. So I'm going to say my Smarty arrow assign. And I'm going to assign what? The first parameter is the name of the Smarty placeholder. It's called error message. Notice there's no $sign here, but there is a $sign in the template. You just got to get used to that. That's the way Smarty works. Now, what do we want to put in its place? What we want to put in its place is the PHP variable $error message. In this case, I'm just going to paste this. In this case, you'll notice that these two match. That absolutely does not have to be the case. I could call this just error, but then I would have to make sure it's error over here. But I'm going to leave it as error message, but I just wanted to clarify that you could make that change. Now, after we do the assignment, we have to do a display. So my Smarty arrow display. And we're going to stick here error.html. Now, the key thing to keep in mind is if you look through this file, there's absolutely no HTML or no echoes. Everything has been moved to the templates directory and it's nice and clean. So let's give this a run. So if I create an account, you'll see that if I click on the error, if I make an error, I get this nice page based on the error page. The username was invalid and so forth. Again, none of that is in the PHP. All of that is in the HTML, is in the template. Sorry. So let me create an account for real this time. So I'll call this Chris_C. Chris_C at shadowlawn.com. Let me put in a password here, remembering the rules. And let's get this right. GDBNNQTD. And if I create the account, invalid username. Oh, I'm not allowed to use underscores. Chrissy. Okay. Okay, let's try that. Okay, account created. It looks good. We have our title. We have our nice headline, and we can click to log in. Okay, so let's go back to the code. That's a quick introduction to Smarty. Just to note, so to continue, you have to slowly go through the rest of the PHP code looking for places where there's echoes or there's direct HTML. Now, The key one that you have to fix is inform.php. You'll see that there's lots of HTML in here. As well, there's a loop and so forth. To help you out on this one, I suggest you go to homepage.php and you take a look at the way we did this one. That should help you out quite a bit. Remember, email me anytime and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.